So one night while she was at her parents' house and I was home, we decided we wanted to get together. So I drove out, and nobody knew we were doing this. This wasn't the day of cell phones or anything. We're like, come on out, man. I'm at my mom and dad's house, And so I pulled into this driveway kind of down by the barn and the farm where they lived. And the man's brother, younger brother, who was a teenager who lived there in the house, heard the truck and got out a gun and came out. He thought somebody was breaking into the barn.
Oh, no.
And we were like, whoa. It's okay. Nan's like, he's my boyfriend. It's okay. Don't shoot him. And I wrote this song on the way home.
Welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party, your weekly musical happy hour where musicians pick an album from their back catalog and tell the stories behind their favorite tracks in front of a live online audience.
This week, we talk with legendary folk rock duo Johnson and Drake, who revisit their 1973 album, Carry It On. They share incredible stories as they reflect on their quick rise to success, touring with Jim Croce, REO Speedwagon, Earth, Wind & Fire, and Linda Ronstadt. Plus, we learn all about quadraphonic recording and what it took to obtain and remaster the original tapes 48 years later. So pour a beverage, grab a snack, and kick back as we fire up the turntable here on the Back Catalog Listening Party, where it's always Friday and old albums never sounded better. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us from Minnesota and Illinois, we have Guy Drake and Tom Johnson, a.k.a. Johnson and Drake, joining us.
So great to have you guys here.
Thank you, Anthony.
We are so excited to have you here. And we have folks joining the party. People are ready for the weekend.
They sure
That's all
are.
I got to say. So we're bringing your weekend to you whenever you need it. And I need it bad today. So I'm with Alan. He says, happy Friday, everybody. And we got Christy and Kermit joining us from Cambridge, Minnesota. And Christopher whooping it up in Savage, enjoying some red wine for the show. So if you are joining us for the live taping, tell us where you're tuned in from, if you're enjoying a beverage or a snack. This is our weekly musical happy hour. So we like to know what you've brought to the party. And Connie joining us from Richfield. Susan from Bend, Oregon, enjoying a cast lager from South Korea. Ooh.
Interesting.
Wow.
Bringing out the fancy stuff for you guys. And we have Cecilia joining us.
Yeah, we know who she is.
Yeah. Great. So Cecilia, you can give us all the secrets.
Yes, we want all the scoops.
That's right. Then we got Joe joining us, checking in from Minneapolis. Happy to be here. And Ryan from Fort Worth, Texas. Hello.
Hey, Ryan.
We're so happy to have you all joining the party. And as I said, Guy Drake joining us from Minnetonka, Minnesota, and Tom Johnson from Springfield, Illinois. And maybe we could start for folks. We know we have some super fans who are joining us for the party, but for folks who are maybe a little less familiar with your music or need a refresher, because you guys got your start quite a few years ago as Johnson and Drake. Maybe you can give a little origin story about where each of you grew up and then how you came together to form a duo.
So the album we're talking about tonight is 53 years old.
Wow.
Have you had an album that old yet?
I think this actually will be the oldest one we've ever revisited.
I think you're right.
So Guy and I, we went to the same high school, and I had written a musical to Catcher in the Rye, and that was performed at the University of Minnesota. Guy played Ackley in that production, and Guy and I became extremely fast friends. And then one person saw that and wanted to do another show. It was Wes Balk, director of the Minnesota Opera, said, I want you to write a musical. So Guy and I wrote a musical to a thing called Genesis 6. The title, it was the Noah story. And that was produced and that was done. Rock musicals were big back then. And then Guy and I we wrote songs. We wrote this musical together. And then we decided that we should probably do a concert. and so we put on a concert. But it was it's a long story. I don't know. I can go TMI here.
Yeah. We better not. It is a long story.
It's a long story. Long story short is that we did that concert. Then we decided to do 3 nights at a place called Theater in the Round. And it was just the band. And the very last night we had a recording studio in town called Sound 80 come and record us. And then so we've done 4 concerts in our life now. And then after that, Sound 80 called and said, we'd like you to come to the studio and lay down a couple of tracks. So we laid down a couple of tracks in the studio, and Herb Pilhofer, who was the director of Sound 80, brought us into his office and said, I'd like to do an album with you, but I want nothing to do with managing you.
That's the most honest offer ever.
Yeah.
And so that's how Carry It On came to be.
Wow.
Wow. That's so great.
Yeah.
And
Herb ended up producing the album. And when we listen to, you hear all the string arrangements and horn arrangements and so on. Those were all done by Herb Pilhofer. And we were really heavily influenced by Gus Dudgeon, who did all the strings for Elton John. And we loved that sound, and Herb locked into that. And anyway, that's why you'll hear it's a very heavily produced album.
It is.
yeah.
So you guys met here in Minnesota. Are you both from this area?
Yes, absolutely. We went to Edina High School.
Oh, all right.
Every day I need attention.
For folks who aren't from the Twin Cities or don't know the area, Edina is a suburb of Minneapolis. And that's so great. And it's also great that you guys are still friends and still making music. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but this is like a pretty, sometimes you never know what those relationships will end up being that will like last a lifetime. And that's pretty great. And it looks like we got some family in the audience too. Vern and Plymouth.
Vern.
Hey, uncle. Hey, guy. So,
All right.
Hey, Vern.
And your number one Johnson and Drake groupie, Nan.
Oh, yeah, right. I just met her. 56 years ago.
Yeah. Well, we are so excited to have you here. And again, the record, as you mentioned, came out originally in 1973, and it was on an LP, and we're going to talk a little bit later, but it was also remastered, and so it's available digitally as well. So we'll talk about that, but I'd love to just dive into some music and hear some of those awesome string arrangements and whatnot. So the first track you picked to feature on tonight's show is Carry It On, the title track. Is there anything that either of you wants to say about the song before we take a listen?
I think you can definitely hear early Elton John into this. This was definitely, as Guy was saying, Gus Dudgeon, producer, and we were very much into his production quality.
All right. Well, we'll give it a listen. This is Johnson and Drake, Carry It On, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
Johnson and
Wow.
Drake, Carry It On. Definitely taking us back to the 70s. You
Yeah,
can
I
tell
love
when
it,
it was
love it.
recorded, which I love.
The analog sound, you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So great.
definitely
And those strings. I mean, you were mentioning that you were influenced, by kind of like that string sound and early
we
Elton
made
John.
Herb do that.
Oh, it sounds
Yeah.
like they're so active, like sometimes when you think of strings in a like pop song, you think, oh, it's like a sweet bed, and
Yeah.
this is
Right.
like, no, there's a lot of movement to that,
Yeah, and I was thinking about the phasing on the strings too. It's like that was probably very new back then, so we wanted to do that. Use the new technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Herb was just inducted into the Minnesota Music Hall of Fame just in the last month, I think,
Yes.
Oh,
or something.
nice.
But I mean, he's a legendary guy. He's 90 years old now, and
wow.
he's just he has this huge legacy of music that he did. He was in the Twin Cities, and Sound 80 was the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's also pretty cool that like you were just like got the call like, oh, come record some songs. I mean,
I know.
that's the thing that musicians dream of happening, right?
Right.
Right.
Which is interesting because, and Guy and I were talking about this for the show, is like one of the points that happened with that was that we never had we were in a local band.
Mhm.
Usually a local band does lots of gigs all around Minneapolis and St. Paul, and you kind of have that, the Twin Cities, and you have that thing going on, and we never did that.
Kind of went right from the theater to the stage.
The company that ended up being our management company was a huge booking agency for colleges back then, and what they would do, their business model was that they would buy like 10 or 15 nights from an act and pay them for it, and then they would resell it to the colleges, and there was a profit margin there in between. And so they were just working this college market constantly. And the big problem was that these headlining acts, these were big bands that we played with, and they needed an opening act. So they just sent us out on the road to be the opening act for all of these people. I mean, the list just goes on and on, but REO Speedwagon, Jim Croce, Earth, Wind and Fire, Linda Ronstadt, it's just a who's who.
Wow.
And but we were on the road all the time. We did a few gigs in Minneapolis, but very few, because we were on the road constantly. I mean, every week we were out 3 or 4 days a week for about 5 years.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow. And so this album was done kind of in the midst of that, right? So is this your first release that you did, or did you have anything before this?
It was a first release, but it wasn't our first album. We recorded one in 1971. That's the one that we're just finishing up restoring again. It was lost for like 50 years. And we found it in a closet up in my attic.
We did.
Wow. What format? Is it on analog tape then?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, absolutely.
Yep. And
fantastic.
But anyway, that was that booking agency that I was talking about. They had us record that album so that they could send it out to colleges to get gigs, because nobody knew who we were. They said, we got this band we want to open for you named Johnson and Drake. Here's their LP. See if you like it. And so it was a marketing tool, and it never got released. But it's a great album because we had one of the things about us, every iteration that we had in our band, we had fabulous players. We had the best bands ever. It's like, Lonnie Knight was our guitarist at one point. Jeff Bouchier, Bernie Pershey, Dave Briquette.
Excellent Twin Cities musicians.
Mhm.
There's all people that I could name, different iterations of the band, during that time as people were available. But anyway, that's why it's such a good album, because we just came in off the road, turned on the microphones, and our live band just played the songs that we had just written in the studio.
Well, speaking of live band, we have a picture here. You mentioned different players. Can you tell us who we're looking at here?
You bet. That's Bernie Pershey on the left. Dave Burgett is bass player. Bernie was the drummer. Dave Burgett is next to the right, with the Ackley T-shirt. Ackley, is that an Ackley T-shirt? It's a weird guy. And then there's Guy, a young guy, and there's a very young Tom Johnson over to the right.
Wow.
And and this actually fits in because I think it was Christopher wanted to know what instruments you guys play. So tell us, the format of the band and who played what.
Basically, how Guy and I do this is I play the piano. I play keyboards, they call it these days, piano. And back then it was piano. And Guy is the lyricist, and we both sing. So and the way that we've done this through all these 53 years of being together, or longer really, is sometimes the lyrics come first, sometimes the music comes first. And I think Carry It On, that was lyrics first, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it was.
And so yeah, that's it. So I play the piano. So when we would front a group like that, if we didn't have the band, which many times it was just Guy and I, and fronting, like Jim Croce was just Guy and I, then it would just be, we usually have a grand piano. Guy usually sits on a stool in the curve of the piano, and then we sing together. That's how we get.
That's awesome.
Cool.
So, and when you had the band, did you ever have guitar, or was it usually just piano, bass, and
bass, drums, and guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Cool. Well, very cool. Folks were loving the music. We got amazing vocals. Really love those harmonies. Lots of claps. And Ryan also said, sounds like Bee Gees harmonies and Elton Bernie production. Killer song. So
wow, you nailed that.
That's great.
Hey there. Would you like to be part of the live show? Well, become a member of the Back Catalog Listening Party Patreon, and you'll get a backstage pass to weekly online tapings where you can ask the artist questions and participate in the live chat with a fun community of like-minded music nerds. You'll also get a first look at upcoming guests and receive invitations to special live streams and private after parties. So join the party today at patreon.com/Back Catalog Listening Party.
So this album, you were so busy on tour. So when did you have the time to make this record?
Good question.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of these songs, like that, I don't know about Carry It On, but I know perhaps the next song we're coming up. I'm not sure which one it is.
Hello, New Day. I think.
Hello, New Day. Perfect. So Guy and I lived in a fourplex at the University of Minnesota. He lived upstairs. I lived downstairs. And Guy would get me the lyrics. And again, Hello New Day, Guy wrote the lyrics first, and I would write the music to this one. And so that was back even before we were writing the musical. So that was that's a long time before we even did that. And then it eventually makes its way onto the album. So yeah.
And then it was always, Hello New Day was always not everybody's favorite song, but it was probably the most well-remembered song off of this album. And we had a couple of years ago, Samsung used it in a commercial.
Oh, wow.
For the Galaxy 7.
True. During the playoffs.
But so, I mean, we had, and so that this song was the one that most people really associate with, and it opened the album. It was the first song in the album. So it's the one that people really remember, I think.
Well, should we give it a spin since we're on the topic?
Sounds
Is there anything
good.
else you wanna say about it before we listen to it?
There's lots more I can say.
Okay, maybe afterwards. Why don't we give it a listen, and we can talk about it afterwards. If you're out there listening live and you have comments or questions for Johnson and Drake, put them in the real-time chat and we'll get to them. But for now, let's enjoy Hello New Day from Johnson and Drake here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Hello. I woke up with the first bird this morning. I was He warbled my drowsy thoughts away. Hello, new day. I looked out on a sweet sleeping city, dozen till the dawn. I followed the street lamps wink away. Hello, new day. Did you sleep well Monday? Do you remember turning into Tuesday? I do. I saw you through at midnight and waited with you for the morning light. I organized the fate of the moonshine, giving way to dawn. I scattered the moonish beams away. Hello, new day. Hello, new day. I hope you have a good day. Hey, that's all, Papa, won't you give out a glow to us? Come now. I waited through a long night, just looking for a sunny light. I sang out to a bold, happy sunrise. Good to see you, dawn. So happy to have these words to say. Hello, new day. Getting up. Hello, new day. Waking up. Hello, new day. Getting up. Hello, new day. Waking up. Hello, new day.
Ah, sweet
Nice.
vocals on that. And this is something that I think I've been hearing a little bit more of it of late, but I feel like went out of fashion for a while, and I love hearing it when I hear it on recordings, which is when there's like multiple vocalists and you sing in unison and then you split into the harmonies. But unison singing is underrated, I think. It just makes the harmonies that much better when you have them.
We couldn't agree more.
We agree.
We all of our tunes, it's partly unison and partly harmony. We really feel that same way.
I think when you're in rehearsing, I think that getting that unison to be just right, because now your phrasing has to be just. Somebody will phrase differently.
Mhm.
You want it to be just right, and so that was a big part of our rehearsals, was getting that phrasing just right.
Well, especially when there's only two, when you guys are doing the duo show.
Yeah.
I mean, with only one instrument and your two voices,
Yeah,
Right.
you can't miss it if someone's not on.
Yeah. Well, then you can more easily slip into harmony whenever you need
Yeah.
to, then, if the
Mhm.
phrasing is
yes,
there.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
Right.
So there's a lot of stories on that particular song, and I don't know where we get. A guy wrote that. You tell the story, guy. That's a great story. How you wrote the lyrics.
Well, it was when I first met my wife, Nan. Her folks lived in a farmhouse not far from where I live now, and we were all of us lived at the University of Minnesota. She was in a different apartment than I was, but that's where we met. And we came back to her folks' house. I got to meet her folks in Minnetonka. Well, anyway, so one night while she was at her parents' house and I was home, we decided we wanted to get together. So I drove out to Minnetonka, and they had nobody knew we were doing this. This wasn't the day of cell phones or anything. We're like, come on out, man. I'm at my mom and dad's house. And so I pulled into this driveway kind of down by the barn and the farm where they lived, and the man's brother, younger brother, who was a teenager who lived there in the house, heard the truck and got out a gun and came out. He thought somebody was breaking into the barn.
Oh no.
And we were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's okay. Nan's like, he's my boyfriend. It's okay. Don't shoot him.
Oh,
And I wrote this song on the way home.
So did you stay there, or did you just hightail it out of there as soon as the gun
Well,
came
no,
out?
well, he went back into the house.
okay.
It was his house. I hightailed it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So
I
you felt
headed
like you
back-
had a new lease on life, and it was like a new day.
And I headed back to the university, and I was taking, what's now 394 into downtown. And that was the opening line of the song. I woke up to a sweet sleep. No, the opening line is, what's the opening line, Tom?
I woke up the first bird.
Yeah,
this
I woke
morning.
up with the first bird this morning, hours before the dawn, because it was like 5 a.m. And and then it says, I looked out on a sweet sleeping city,
Yeah.
dozing till the dawn. That was talking about driving over the Mississippi, or into the University of Minnesota.
Oh,
And,
Great story.
that's
Yeah.
so great. That's
And
wonderful.
I do have to just interject, and I'll try to make this really short. But so that's one story. The other story is that Guy mentioned the Samsung commercial, but it's important to realize that this song was recorded in 1973. Okay, now here it is, 2017, and I get a text from my brother saying that his son Vern had heard this in some sports bar at the playoffs. And I'm going, no, that's not possible. And so then about 3 hours went by. I finally kind of checked it out. It's like, no, this song is now being played on the Samsung commercial in the NFL playoffs. And Guy and I know nothing about it. And so it's like, so I contact Guy, and he had just heard that too. And so we wondered what to do. We finally, through a long story short, we did get an LA lawyer that went to work for us. And that's when we found out that we had originally sold a lot of this album.
Yeah.
Lots we learned from that.
Like sold copies of the album.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, she was the one that uncovered that we had sold way more records than we ever got paid for.
Oh
right.
man.
And the thing that's surprising is that's never happened before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Yeah,
First.
that just never happened.
Yeah.
industry.
Everyone always gets compensated fairly for
I
their
know.
music.
Well, I hope you
know?
got compensated for this commercial.
Management never walks away with all the money. That-
Never, ever.
But
So
With
did you
us-
finally hunt down some of your money? Were you able to reclaim
Yes,
some of
there
that?
was some money involved. Yes.
Yep. So we got a check. It was not a big check, but we got a check. And it was enough for us to pay to restore all of our old music.
Ah,
So
so
we
is
didn't-
that where this album? So this album we're revisiting,
Yes.
is carried on. Came out in 1973, but it was remastered in 20 and released digitally in 2021.
Right.
Is this one of the results of that?
Definitely. Because
Yep.
it originally was recorded quadraphonic.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know some
I know,
people
like-
don't even know
Please
what that
define.
is.
Please define.
Yeah.
There was
tell-
a thing called quadraphonic. You could get a quadraphonic amplifier and have 4 speakers. And so if you're doing like Neil Diamond's Sung Blue, it'd be Sung Blue. It was
Wow.
a thing. Okay. And this song,
It was surround sound now is
Yeah.
what we would call it. But
Yeah. but it was yeah. So we had to be remastered stereo.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of the remastering process, I think we have a special guest who's going to join us if he's still
We do.
backstage. Oh, there he is.
And this
Ta-da.
is the perfect time.
Hey,
Because
welcome,
here-
Rusty.
Here's the guy who restored the album.
Yeah, so Rusty, Guy's son, is joining us. And I know you were heavily involved in this process, Rusty. So what can you tell us about remastering these tracks?
I mean, it was totally fascinating. It was one of the most fun projects ever. It was basically it was the best comparison is like architectural restoration. It was like, trying to fix something that really needed to be fixed. We had, it's interesting how it happened because when we first started, we just had this idea out of kind of nowhere to make these songs available digitally so we could listen to them just ourselves. So we had an old vinyl version. We were kind of very simply recording or digitizing the vinyl tracks. And it was during that time that this Samsung commercial came out, and all of a sudden we ended up with a budget. And in the process of finding the contracts to prove ownership of the song to get the money for the Samsung commercial, we found tapes of the album that we could then use. And so we found like a bucket of tapes that ended up turning into a whole series of remastered albums. But they all had limitations. So the Carry It On album, we didn't have the full 36 track tape. We had a 2-track master. And it was flawed. It was 50 years old. There was all these gaps in it, like magnetic tape had worn off in some places. There was things that were messed up about it. So we actually had to go and reconstruct it, using software to put it back together. And then once we put it back together, then we kind of took it to the next level and figured out, okay, using current technology, what can we do to actually separate these tracks out as much as possible with only a 2-track master and actually, in some small ways, remix it. So we actually, it was a fascinating experience. And some of the other albums that we did at that time were even a more robust experience that we, had to basically, and we'd have to get into talking about a whole nother album. This story goes on and on and on. So it was really, really fun and super. I would do it again in a moment.
It sounds fantastic. Nice job.
It sounds really good.
Thank
and
you.
It also enabled us to even revisit this album on this show because we although we always love promoting physical copies of the album, including vinyl releases, it makes it technically very challenging for us to play on this show. So, as part of the podcast. So, if you're enjoying the music, and we know you are from all the comments that keep flying in, we're having trouble keeping up, and all the emoji and claps and all that stuff. The good news is you can get this album in a couple formats. So, I mean, if you can find a vinyl copy, snag it, first of all. I mean, they're probably out there somewhere, right?
Well, Ed and I found one once in Chicago.
See, there you go. You never know. So if you find one on eBay, pick it up. But if you want to buy music straight from the source and support Johnson & Drake, you can go to johnsonanddrake.com. It's available now on all the digital places, so you can find it there. Of course, we recommend buying the digital copies, the downloads, because it will sound the best. But even better than the digital downloads, they have CD copies of this album. And although it's not for sale on the website at the moment, they said that if you Venmo the money, they will send you one. So we will put that Venmo right there, Venmo at Rusty-Drake, and we'll have it in the comments and all that. But if you want a CD copy, it's going to sound the best that way. So we highly recommend that, and it helps fund the next project. And Rusty, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're joining us from LA today, so it's great to have some more of the family. It feels like a family reunion here in the chat too, which is really fun. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Wow, this chat, I didn't see how many people have commented.
I know we won't be able to get to all of them, but we do want to encourage you, if you just joined the party, tell us where you're tuned in from, if you're enjoying a snack or a beverage. And also, if you have any questions or comments as we go, we'll get to as many as we can. And look, we have Mr. Edward Stevens says, yes, proud owner of a vinyl copy of Carry It On. In fact, and I think some other family member said listening to these tracks brought back memories of being a young kid and listening to the album. So this is so wonderful to revisit these tracks with both of you. The Back Catalog Listening Party is brought to you by EFS Publicity. Founded by veteran publicist, promoter, DJ, and musician Ellen Stanley, EFS brings an artist's perspective to the table, working to help clients get to the next level in their career. Services include national and international media campaigns, radio promotions, tour press, crowdfunding, grant writing, and more. Get a quote or set up a consultation today at efspublicity.com. Time is going fast, so we want to get to more music.
Yes.
And the next track you picked to feature is Slow Boat. Is there anything you want to say about this before we take a listen?
Okay. This was another one where the words came first, and it's about three women in my life. So the first verse is, "Ooh, Patricia, my love, that's my mother," and the second verse is, "Ooh, Victoria, my love," and that was my girlfriend just prior to when I met Nan. But we're still very, very good friends. I mean, it was one of those, where she's just a real buddy of mine. And then the third one is my wife, Nan, and she turned into Nancita in the song so that we could make the words fit.
The lyricist's thing.
Awesome.
All right, well, let's give it a spin. This is Johnson and Drake with Slow Boat here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Patricia, my love, sail away with me. We can find the wealth you're dreaming of, far away to sea. You'll find yourself a treasure, find security. Anything you need to find will be there. You will see. We'll see. Victoria, my love, sail with me. We can find the mind you're dreaming of, always to see. We'll find the dream of knowledge, find you a degree. Anything we need to find will be there when you see. You see aboard that storm boat to freedom, sailing away with me. Sailing aboard that storm boat to freedom, sailing away to sea. Sailing aboard that storm boat to freedom, Cheetah, my love. Sail away with me. Sailing aboard that storm boat to find the home we're dreaming of. Sailing aboard that storm boat away to sea. We'll find a dream of justice, love and charity. Sail away with me, my love, as we learn to be free. Be free. Be free. Sailing away with me. Sailing aboard that storm boat to freedom, sailing away to sea. Sailing aboard that storm boat to freedom, sailing away with me. Sailing aboard that storm boat to freedom, sailing away to sea. Sailing aboard that storm boat to freedom, sailing away with me. Sailing aboard that storm boat to freedom, sailing away to sea.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, man.
Slow Boat just fading away out in the sunset.
When we sing that free at the very end, it's like impossibly long. Nobody can sing that long. So, but Guy and I are there. They just recorded us on top of each other, so it just went on forever.
Nice. That's a great trick. Well, it's funny because that's almost like a choral trick, really. When you sing in choirs, people like stagger their breaths so that it sounds like one continuous sound.
And today, you can't really imagine how primitive that technology really was compared to what we utterly take for granted now. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
It's that kind of thing could be done like that now.
Well, especially, I mean, even layering those other vocals, obviously.
Right.
I'm assuming it's just the two of you, like the echo, the call and response kind of vocals. But you have to do them
did that
again
live.
on tape. Yeah. Oh, you
That's
do
how we
that
did
too?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we did it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So good. And the drums, man, those rhythms, so
Spielberg.
good.
And Billy Peters on bass. So yeah,
So
Fantastic.
great players.
Well, we had a question that came back a little while ago, but I was reminded of it when I heard the lyrics "Sail Away," and this is from our friend Chris, who says, "My Styx-loving wife wants to know of any Dennis DeYoung influence or not."
No, Dennis DeYoung influence, or Styx influence really at all. Although I think that really vocally back then, I think I could see the Dennis DeYoung thing.
Yeah, and I'm a great fan.
Yeah.
But we weren't listening to him at that time.
Mm.
Maybe he was listening to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, who are
And he
these?
was Chicago. I
Maybe
recall
he
he was
wanted you to
Chicago.
go on tour with them. He's like, REO Speedwagon got them.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get Johnson and Drake on
There's
my
one group we actually never fronted was Styx. We didn't
Oh.
front Styx.
Yeah, that's right. We
Well,
never did.
well, speaking of which, you mentioned some of the great acts you've opened for, like REO Speedwagon, Bonnie Raitt, Linda Ronstadt, Earth, Wind and Fire. Also, I know John Hartford, which Tony and I, being
Yes.
banjo players, we're
Very large fans of
big fans of John
Yeah.
Hartford. But also, you mentioned Jim Croce, who you played a lot with, and this album kind of was recorded at a really unique time, especially in relationship to Jim. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, when the album was released in January of 1973, and we spent the whole rest of that year on tour with Jim Croce and Maury Muehleisen. It was because he was just launching the biggest hits, just these gigantic hits, one right after another. And Don't Mess Around with Jim, Bad Leroy Brown, Time in a Bottle. It was just like, and he was just, just taking off. And so when we started the tour, he was another kind of new guy out, on the airwaves and so on. By the time we got towards the end of 1973, he was gigantic. Just, he had just had so many huge hits. And we were still his opening act. So we were, having breakfast together every morning at the same hotel, and he and Maury and so on. The reason we were so intensely touring with him was because we had just released this new album, and he had just released all this new music, and we were trying to get it out there,
Yep.
And then the record label in October, they asked us to come back to Minneapolis and just leave the tour for just come back to Minneapolis because they wanted to actually they flew us to Chicago to reshoot the album cover. Our record label is based in Chicago. And so we just went, and we already had the tickets booked and everything. We flew commercial airline all the time. And they said, we said we would go, and they asked if we would leave our road manager with them, because that was an extra set of, arms and legs for them. If our road manager was a guy named Kenny Cortese. And so, we were only going away for 2 days, just to do this and come right back. And so we're sitting in the photo studio at early in the morning, like 2-3 a.m., shooting these album cover shots, and the radio comes on.
Yeah.
Utah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So for those of you who don't know, we're looking at a photo of Jim Croce
And Murray.
and the road manager, right?
No, that's Murray.
Oh, that's Murray.
That's Maury Muehleisen. He was his guitarist.
Oh,
all of that great music.
Oh, yeah, that intricate guitar work. That's all him.
That was Maury Muehleisen. Yeah. I mean, Jim was a good guitar player, but all that brilliant guitar work on his music was Maury.
So this picture we're looking at is them in the plane that crashed. So that happened while you guys were in Chicago. So you might have been on that plane with them.
We would have been.
We would have been. We already. What happened was that they decided not to take a commercial flight because they added in an extra show that would be in the afternoon of the following day, so that they would fly one place in the afternoon and another place in the evening, and there wasn't enough seats on the plane for a duo. So we didn't come back to Natchitoches because they weren't going to fly commercial out of there. They were going to fly this little plane. So they flew a comedian named George Stevens in from LA, And Tom and I went home, and we're sitting in the studio at like 3 a.m, and the radio comes on and says, rock star Jim Croce was killed tonight in a plane crash in Natchitoches, Louisiana.
Yeah.
And we were just like, did you hear that?
Wow.
And again, it's the technology is so slow. It's not like you can Google it.
Right.
We're in some photo studio somewhere. I mean, it was just
Wow. And you had become so close and had been on the
Yes.
road for
Yeah.
so long. And
Yeah.
and he was a really good guy. He was a lot of when you're the opening act, usually the main act won't have anything to do with you, and he wasn't like that at all. Every time we saw him, he's like, how are you guys doing? How are your gigs going? Here's what happened to us. We were just road warriors talking about, the last couple of cities we'd been in.
Mm.
His managers wanted him to play because he became huge, and they wanted to play larger gigs. Forget these college things we've already booked for you. Just drop them. Let's do this bigger arena stuff. He said, no, I'm going to retain what I committed to.
Yeah. So, and then of course, Kenny Cortese, our road manager, was one of our closest friends.
Yeah.
He was a guy we hung out with all the time, when we were back in Minneapolis, he and his wife, Lynn. So
it must have been devastating.
it was. And of course, since that time, Jim Croce's become much bigger.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Yeah. I mean, I
mean,
grew up on all of his music for sure.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so amazing. Well, that's one of the amazing things we have is even when people leave far too soon, some of them leave these amazing songs that we can still enjoy and still move us in so many ways. So thank you so much for sharing that. If you just joined us for the Back Catalog Listening Party, we're talking with Guy Drake and Tom Johnson of the duo Johnson and Drake. And again, they're talking about leaving the tour with Jim Croce to do, was it this photo shoot?
Yes.
Yes.
So this photo that's on
That photo.
their album cover from their 1973 album, Carried On, which we've been revisiting tonight. And I just have to say, those coats are peak 70s, and they're amazing. Were these your own coats, or were they just given to you for the photo shoot?
No, mine was my own.
So great.
Tom, it was like the photographer's coat, right?
Yeah. And what does the button say, Guy?
What's it? Oh yeah. And my button says, I'm basically a warm person. that little button there. But that was my jacket.
Something
I
like
love
Be
it.
Happy or something.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
If you're just listening to the audio podcast version, we will get these photos up at the show notes at backcataloglisteningparty.com.
So great. And that album cover, again, if you get the CD, if you find the vinyl, get it, because then you get this amazing artwork. It's awesome. Really a time capsule in so many ways. Well,
I was going to say one quick thing, because it was a comment that somebody made that they said, this is the remastered album. Wow.
Yeah.
One of the things that so many people have told me, because this album is so old, is that they had never heard it without scratches and pops and clicks. And, because all they had was their LP from 1973,
right?
which they played the hell out of back then, or whatever. So people were contacting us going, this is what that album really sounds like,
That's awesome.
They'd never heard of that clean of a version, because coming off the tapes.
Well, again, you can send some money to their Venmo and then get a CD copy sent to you, or you can download the high-res files. But highly recommended to do that. Before you hop into our last song here, I also want to thank the folks who keep this show running. We haven't been going for 50 years, but we've been going for 6, which feels like its own kind of feat.
Well, in post 2020 years, it feels like 50 years. Right?
Exactly. It's like dog years.
Yeah.
So we want to thank these folks. Take it away, Tony.
Thank you to Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Becky, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Matt, Steve, Mark, Severin, Mary, Nikki, Joni, David, CJ, Christy, Diane, Hetty, Sandy, Neighbor Ann, BZ, Paul, Cynthia, Ross, Mike, Eric, Phil, and Ryan, and maybe you. If you like nerding out about music and recording and production and songwriting and all of those things, and like hanging out with cool people like Guy Drake and Tom Johnson during the week, you should think about joining our Patreon community. It's a lot of fun. It's the best hour of my week every week. It's a magical to put on headphones and listen to music with no agenda other than just appreciation, which is something I did a lot as a younger person and kind of lost it. And I've heard from a lot of people who have rediscovered intentional listening, and intentional listening is what we're all about here at the Back Catalog.
And revisiting and rediscovering for the first time, or rediscovering old records. And again, Johnson Drake get the award for the oldest record we've revisited on the show. We've had some albums from about 30 years old, but
yeah.
This is
not 53.
Not 53.
No.
So you guys definitely get the grand prize on that.
And we're still writing music. We just released a new album. So I mean, it's like that's the really cool thing is even the musicians that live as long as we've lived, they don't keep partnerships going.
It's true.
They always break up. They always break up.
And I just want to put a plug because, you just put out a new record, like new songs,
right.
Not just a newly released album. It's called We Loved Our Freedom, with some songs that are very timely right now. And folks can pick that up on your website and on Bandcamp. They can get some copies there. And you have you don't tour like you used to, obviously, but you play occasionally. And I know you have a concert here in the Twin Cities on July 16th at the 318 Cafe. And you'll be celebrating this new album. And is there anything else quick you want to say about the new record?
No. Come
see them. Yeah. If you live in the Minnesota area or want a road trip here, because again, this is a rare chance to hear Guy and Tom.
There is one thing I'll say about the new album, and that is that we're old. So when we got back together again to start recording songs and singing again, we really didn't have any idea what we were going to sound like together. And the one comment that all of our old fans make about the new album is, it's Johnson and Drake. You guys sound exactly the same.
Wow.
And I talked to a person who's sort of an expert on vocal stuff who said, yeah, people's voices, if they don't damage their throat or whatever, people's voices don't really change that much in a lifetime. But anyway, so if you listen to the new album, and you can download a song or two, and you'll be able to recognize these same harmonies.
That's
nice.
great. Well, we'll have links to buy the new album, as well as links to find these old ones as well, so you can stay in touch. But the other way to stay in touch with them is they have an email list. So if you go to johnsonanddrake.com, they will let you know when they have new music, and when I know there's another kind of release of old tracks that will be coming out soon too. So you can find out about all of that news, and if they play any other live shows, johnsonanddrake.com is where to do that. But we're going to get to one more song for sure from this album, Carry It On. And the last track is Isn't There Someone?
Oh, yes.
So, Tom, why don't you tell this story?
Okay. So there was back then we had singles, and they would be recorded on a 45, and that would get a lot of radio play. You're going after radio play. So now we had a big single called Goldie that was going to be the single from the album. And when they actually pressed it, they put the title of Goldie on the wrong side. So that Isn't There Someone was the backside, B side, and Goldie was the A side, but they mixed them up. So now, long story short, it goes to LA. They start playing Goldie. Everybody loves this song. It's actually Isn't There Someone, the song you're about to hear. And it became a Billboard top pick. It was like getting a ton of radio play. But what did the record company do? They pulled it, repressed it, and made it right.
No.
So Goldie they totally nixed the fact that Isn't There Someone was.
Yeah. So they re-released the single And they actually put Goldie in there, put the song Goldie in there, even though the song that had blown everybody away
Wow.
was Isn't There Someone?
Oh
And
my
I'm
God.
sure people who listened to it wondered, I wonder why this song is called Goldie.
Oh, that's
I
great.
love these stories. This is the kind of stuff that you don't get unless you
No.
read the liner notes and talk to the
Yeah.
the artists. And
my gosh.
we're so grateful for these stories, man. They're fantastic.
Thank you, Anthony.
And we're gonna close out our hour with the single that wasn't meant to be. And I'm so glad that it's we get to close out our show today with it. This is Isn't There Someone from Johnson and Drake here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
If somebody would just agree with me, you can think alone. If I could only think in such a way that someone might say to me, I have never heard that said or thought before. Isn't there someone who can see just one original thought in me? If I could only see the way to be a discoverer, lay a virgin footpath on the earth, and feel the soil reach up and speak to me. You are the very first to touch the brown earth here. Isn't there somewhere I can really dare to say there is only me? If I could only recreate what I see inside of me, if I could only paint a feeling real that someone might say to me, I see a heart in you I never knew to be. Isn't there someone who can see there's something more inside of me? Isn't there somewhere I can really dare to say there is only me?
I know. What a perfect way to end the hour. Folks loving the
Yeah.
music. That was Isn't There Someone, not Goldie. Is there someone from Johnson and Drake's 1973 record, Carried On, originally released on vinyl, remastered for CD and digital in 2021. Get it in whatever format you can.
Yeah.
Because
Sounds
it's
great.
going to sound so awesome. Whether it has crackles or whether it's nice and clean like the digital version. This has been so much fun, guys.
Totally.
It sure has.
Wow,
Wow.
what a groove. This is great.
Let's do this again with like our Migration album or one of the.
Yeah.
That was from 1975. We're getting
You'll
ready
hold
to
the
release.
first and second slots for the oldest recordings on the
Right.
show. Yeah.
No, we'll own all three when we release set list because that was 1971.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we definitely have to do it again. People are really appreciating it. We've got all kinds of great comments here. Thank you,
Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Drake, and of course, Back Catalog Listening Party. This has been such a fun celebrating Johnson and Drake, a truly delightful hour of wonderful music, interesting stories. This has been such a great show. Thank you all. The comments are a testament to what your music means to people, and whether they just discovered it today or they've been listening to it for all these years. We sure appreciate you spending this hour with us tonight.
We sure do.
As we
And
do.
So do we.
Totally.
and if we really appreciate all of you, whether you joined us for the live taping or whether you're listening on the podcast version of the show, no matter how you've tuned us in, make sure if you've enjoyed what you've heard, like it, and most importantly, review it. That really helps us reach new people. And you can subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on, and then you'll be notified of our next guest, whether it's Johnson and Drake again or any number of wonderful artists. You'll make sure to be notified of when new episodes drop. So thank you so much. Support Johnson and Drake. Go to johnsonanddrake.com, buy their music, see them if you can live, and sign up for their email list. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And
Thank you.
Until next week, keep supporting independent music and musicians. Cheers.
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 Thanks for joining us on the Back Catalog Listening Party. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review, which helps more people discover our show and our guests.
And do you want to be a part of the live show, get a first look at upcoming guests, and receive invites to private online parties and live streams? Then join our Patreon community at backcataloglisteningparty.com.
Have a great week. We'll see you back here next Friday for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party.